Today we're going to be doing some technical analysis. I really want to focus on giving you guys the daily and then going into the hourly on each chart for the SPY, Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and even NVIDIA. So stick around for that, okay? Getting into it on the SPY right off the bat, I just want to see, why we thought there could be a bounce at these levels. And there's a bunch of things going for you at this level, okay? So we do see a pretty dramatic move. We do have the 200 getting tested multiple times, or at least that area around the 200. In the futures market, we actually came below that 200, so that's kind of interesting. But we were expecting some kind of bounce here, and it looks like, look at this, okay, right here. I'm sorry to the bears, but this is bullish, okay? You look at the whole week is right here. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and you can see with one bar on Friday, we took all of this price action back, okay? So that is a very bullish signal. We're getting above a moving average, and now the next step is to get above the next one. The overall step to get extremely bullish would be to get above this 50 and get this daily MACD to cross and get this RSI above 50, okay? So as far as how high this can go, the extreme bullish case is that we extend to higher levels, and then we do get that info on Wednesday and Thursday, which is the FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, and then we have the CPI or the CPI on Thursday, okay? And I'm overall paying attention to Thursday, that CPI, so I would encourage you to mark that date on your calendars. I feel like it's going to be very important because in the extreme bullish case, if we are at these levels, possibly looking a little bit, better on shorter time frames with some kind of, structure, we could actually see this thing break this little trend between these two highs and come test this highway up here, or go even make a new high with that good news. That's the extreme bullish case. The overall bullish case I want to be paying attention to is where the resistance is above. Okay, so your resistance is going to be right here at this gap fill, and then your resistance is probably going to be somewhere up in here at this gap fill around that 450.43, and we can pay attention to these monthly risk ranges. Okay, I would highly suggest you mark those for the SPY. I don't do it on every chart. I just do it on some charts, the ones that I deem it's kind of important with the data. So overall, the SPY, we could see a move towards the expected move for the month of October, the top of that by the end of the week or even by the beginning of the week. And if it does happen early on in the week, we're going to look into those timeframes and update you as it goes. But we could be seeing that inflation report coming in hot. The overall thing I want to be thinking here on the bullish and bearish case, this might be the bearish case for you, but it's better on the Qs, is if this low starts to get taken out right now, I'm paying attention to a full, wow, that is a bad bar, a full daily close, below that 200-day moving average. The thing about that is, if we do come down in these areas before that CPI, a lot of the time we do like to go back into our options, our risk for the month of October. So we could see some kind of drastic V-shape recovery. Right now, we do have that strong bar, so I am leaning towards the bull side. And if we go into an hourly chart here, we can see that some kind of head and shoulders might form. So I do believe we will get some kind of pullback Monday morning. This was a very strong move, so for it to be healthy, we would want it to start to, trickle down throughout Monday, and then maybe at the end of Monday, we start to see this break. And you see that measured move there leads directly to the top of that monthly expected move. So we will be paying attention to charts around that time, and we'll update you throughout the week. And the Qs here, this is where the bearish case is a little bit easier to see. Let's just tackle that real quick. Okay, so the bearish case is, and I've been saying this for a little while, is this low. I believe that if we do break that low, we'll be breaking out of our little triangle continuation, and you can see that there's not much holding us up. I know that I've said that a few times, but overall, when that does happen, we'll be looking for that 200-day moving average. And overall, I am actually going to pay more attention to this price of about 321.29. As you can see, there's not a lot in here to hold us up. So that 200 might not be the best support, but if we just zoom out a little bit, we can see that we compiled up around here, around that 321.29 price. We almost got to it here. We did use it as support a couple times around here, and you notice when we break it, we do break pretty rapidly to the downside. So I believe that point will be very important to pay attention to if we see a breakdown. The bullish side for the Qs is great. Okay, you have a crossing on the MACD giving you that green impression on the histogram. You have a RSI that's getting above 50, and you do have a buy signal, and you're seeing that head and shoulders on the hourly, which we're going to get to, actually start to play out. So if we do see extreme bullishness, and the info that we get, the data that we get this week on Wednesday and Thursday is actually good for the market. We actually could see a full extension to go test first this high up here towards that 389 price point, but you see the measured move, we could see the Qs get all the way up to around 406 before we see some kind of pullback. And it's at this point that I'm going to give you guys a tip, something that I wish I learned and I wish someone told me, because I've had some big losses when I did this. Okay, when I'm looking at shorter time frames and I don't look at a daily, and the daily looks like this while I'm looking at shorter time frames and I want to go short, okay, don't do that, because I've done it before and it's been very, very bad for me. Most of the time, what I would just say the tip is do not short a stock when it crosses on the MACD and gives you a green impression on the histogram on a daily chart. Okay, you can see that it's going to possibly just jut up to this area, and you can get your premiums and things like that just ripped away very, very quickly. And if that news this week actually comes out as bullish for the market, you can get, all of that money lost very quickly. So that's just a little tip for you. Even if it looks like there's weakness on an hourly chart or something like that, just wait for the next trade, because you don't want to go against that momentum. And funnily enough, I am actually going to show you guys that scenario happening on, it actually happened. So I want you guys to see that, and that's when we get to NVIDIA. So stick around for that. But right now you can see that right now we're touching those overbought conditions. We look like we need some kind of pullback, but the Qs are seeing this head and shoulders play out to the upside right now. We could see this fully play out this week. So maybe on Monday I do expect, because when we go into Apple and stuff, you're going to see some overbought conditions that need to be taken care of. So maybe we get some kind of dip lower or even a little deeper, and then we find some buyers to push us to the upside. Overall, this does look like, and I truly believe that we do have a bullish case, mainly bullish scenario happening in front of us for the next few days. Now, Apple is something that we have covered extensively. Okay, we've covered this a lot on this channel, and overall, the thing that we've been paying attention to, and we've got a lot right on this, is this purple zone. Okay, we've been in this for quite some time. We've been talking about it for about 2 weeks, and we have a lot of good things to say about it. But the thing is, what did I tell you about, a week or two ago? We're looking for a clean break of this zone one way or the other to give us some direction. We tried to do it. We closed back in it. We tried to do it. We closed back in it. And we closed back in it. And now we broke to the upside. You got a buy signal. And the other thing is, you have this big divergence. Okay, you have a very significant divergence on Apple. Apple could quickly start to, if it's able to take back that 50, we could easily fill this gap here around that 182.82, and we could start to get into this zone here, which is just that gap fill and gap resistance zone that we struggled at this point. Just telling you right now, this looks very bullish. And as we go into shorter time frames, you're going to see we might just need some kind of pullback into the top of our purple zone here, which we're going to see what happened the last time we did this. Okay, so the last time we did this, we got some kind of pullback. Let's say we get some kind of pullback deep into this zone, and then we see that extension higher. Sometimes the second move is even bigger, first of all, but we want to pay attention to this, because we don't want, you guys thinking, oh, the market's going to crash now. Just pay attention. If this purple zone breaks on the daily to the downside, you are going to see that 200 get tested very quickly. What happened the last time? So what happened the last time this type of move happened was actually right over here. So if we just zoom into this little area right here, I'm going to put it in the middle of your screen. We can see we got an explosive move. Okay, we got an explosive move out of our purple zone, which is what's happening right now. And then what did we do? We got to those overbought conditions and we pulled back into that zone to use it to trampoline us even higher. And you see the second move is bigger. So that actually could be in store for us this week. But at this point, I mean, the levels you want to pay attention to if you are on the bull side is, or even the bear side, you want to pay attention to what it looks like around this 182.92. But I think overall, what we want to pay attention to is where price is by October 12th. So that is by the end of Wednesday. We want to see, is price here? Is price all the way up in here? Or even is price way down here? Okay, if price is way down here and we actually do get a test of that 200 before that data, we actually could see that data as good news. And if that price is way up here, we could see that as bad news. That's just your kind of like risk is a little bit more to the downside. But overall, you are seeing on the daily very good charts. So the data is going to move the market this week, and the data is going to dictate whether we are going to see most likely a crash or some kind of bull run coming over the next month or so. We do have some new people in the channel. I just want to put this up here for you guys to possibly pause and draw on your charts if you are a Tesla trader. This triangle is going to be very, very important very soon. So we want to be paying attention to it, and we're going to talk a lot about it today. So just take a quick second, make sure you have it drawn on your charts. The reason I'm saying it's so important is because we're really to the bullish and bearish side. We're paying attention to the top of this triangle. If we're able to get a closing bar outside of it, or if we're able to get a closing bar to the downside, we could see that 200 tested very quickly in the bearish case. But the bullish case here is what I'm leaning towards, and I think overall we can kind of think that we're going to touch the top of our triangle we got going ever since the all-time high in the near future. If we do see this start to break down before that info, this is where it will be very dependent on the info, because if we are at this level around that information, if bad info comes out, we could see an extreme sell-off in Tesla. But if good info comes out, we could stay in this triangle for quite some time, or we could get the fake out maybe to the downside and then go to the upside. That doesn't mean the bulls are fully out of it either. If we start to extend higher, this could be a fake out and then we go to the downside. Or we could see some kind of, coiling up as well. So we really want to pay attention to when these zones break, and I'm going to be updating you guys about this all week. Now, Tesla, do give you guys a thumbs up and pat on the back. If you've been trading Tesla, we've been doing a good job at this, so you deserve to give yourself a pat on the back. We called this left head and possibly small right shoulder. We're seeing that start to extend to the upside, and then right here, we pretty much just called that, hey, this is a bear trap. And this bear trap here, the reason that we just called it a bear trap will be very obvious to see on something like NVIDIA here in a second. So we get multiple retests of this area, right? And then we see that move happen. We actually called that move happening as well. So good job, guys. And then we set around this area. We were just like, okay, looks like it's barely getting to those overbought conditions. Maybe we go fill that gap. And then we start to come down, okay? And that's actually what happened. In the morning, we filled that gap. And then we saw a little bit more consolidation over the next couple of days. And now we have to see, are we going to get that extension? But because things like Apple are looking like they want to pull back, I think we will also see Tesla pull back a little bit and then start to make a move higher. Overall for the week, though, we can be paying attention to this low on the bear case. Okay, so this low, sorry for the hiccup, but this low on the bear case is pretty important, because if we do break that low, we're going to head to that bottom of that triangle, and we're going to have to see what kind of break we get. If it actually breaks to the downside, then we are going to start putting our bear hats on again. Now, Amazon didn't take back every single day of the week. You see, this is Monday. We didn't take back Monday like we did in the SPY or anything, but we would like to see some more strength to get us into our resistance up ahead. So you notice I do have a monthly risk range for it. So what I'm mainly paying attention to here is, or at least the levels to the bull side that I'm paying attention to, is just this gap zone, most likely this gap fill. And then if we do get outside of that range and come fill this gap, then I'm going to be paying attention to if momentum is dying and we need to see some kind of pullback if the news isn't that bad, or if we need some kind of, correction based on the info or data that we get on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. To get really bullish on Amazon, we're going to need this MACD to curl over. We're going to need this RSI to get above 50, and then we're going to probably extend and try to come test this little trend between our two previous highs. That's overall the most bullish I can get on Amazon. On Amazon, we could see a little more upside on Monday before we get that pullback, maybe coming up into this neckline resistance here, and then we could see some kind of pullback with the market. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if it does want to pull back and then start to go to higher levels. I just want to really pay attention to this low, because we could actually head lower to that 200-day moving average if price does take out this low. And you can see how far this expected move wants to take us. Okay, it wants to take us outside of our monthly risk range. It possibly wants to project us all the way up into this gap fill. So we do have some bullishness behind this move, and that's overall what I want to say to you guys. And really, don't be shorting when you're seeing the spot or the Qs cross on its MACD and get that green impression on a daily chart. Time for NVIDIA. Let's get to it. Okay, NVIDIA had a very bullish day. Okay, so we've been talking about how we can get a little bullish on NVIDIA for a little while, and we saw this big move up. It was a little bit wonky, but we did see this big move up, and this is the example of why you don't short when you see a green impression on a daily chart. Okay, so we do get this daily close here, testing the 50 and closing a little bit below us, and then the next day we got a sell-off, right? but we do have that green cross on the MACD, and you can see we called this as a bear trap, and we do project higher. So that is a bear trap, and that is why it is good to mark that and kind of write it down in your notes, as I am not going to short if I see an green impression on the MACD at these types of levels. Okay, this is a strong move, and we could see it go even higher. The very bullish case would be that this is a legitimate move. We get good news with that CPI, and maybe we see this project all the way up into testing the trend line between our most recent two highs, and that would bring us up to about that price point of 530. What is that? 531. Okay, so that's the most bullish I can get on NVIDIA. The bearish, or the bullish but also kind of bearish side, is we could see this, ABC pattern actually play out, which plays out to about this level of 481. And then we see that right shoulder form. And this is the bear case. The bear case, I believe at this point, is I think this is a bullish move. I think we're going to see more upside. And you overall want to pay attention to when this neckline breaks. And I know I'm a broken record about that. Like I've said it, but it is very important, because you notice we gapped up hugely here. So nothing is holding you up in here. So if you start to close below it, you're going to beeline for that 200-day moving average pretty quick. On an hourly, we can go back in time on NVIDIA and just state that we saw this, and this is the date that I put out that video saying this is a bear trap. I put it as my thumbnail for a reason. We did not break below our 50 on the hourly, and we didn't break this low. I said to be bearish once this low breaks, and we're seeing this possible A, B, C play out. Okay, so this is overall what we're paying attention to. You can see right now we are overbought, so we could see that pullback early on Monday, and then maybe by the end of the day we start to see strength, maybe getting a little retest of this little mini trend that we broke. We could also see a deeper one as well, and you don't have to be too fearful. We could see a dip all the way down into our 50 on the hourly, and then start to see some buyers step back in. We could see a deeper pullback in NVIDIA on Monday, just because you do have this MACD divergence. Okay, you have a MACD divergence. It doesn't really prove itself on the RSI. It's just not that significant. So I am expecting some kind of pullback early on in Monday, which we can look forward to. We can look forward to this little pullback, mark this high, and if we see that break, we can start to head to the upside. And one of the reasons that I am getting pretty bullish is because exactly what we said needed to happen in order for us to get bullish is happening. Okay, you have the VIX here that tried to get above 20 early on in the day on Friday, but it couldn't do it, and it broke down and did the two things we wanted to happen almost at the same time, right? We closed below the 200, and we closed breaking our trend line. Okay, so it doesn't mean that on Monday we can't see some kind of little pop, okay, but overall, we do have the scenario playing out for a bigger pop. If this MACD starts to cross over and that news on Thursday with the CPI comes out as good for the market, then we could see this extend all the way down and kind of do that thing where it just kind of mellows out for quite some time. Overall, right now, I'm paying attention to gap fill. So this gap fill closing on a closing basis, and the gap fill down at 1212. Those are the two levels that I'm paying attention to in the VIX. It doesn't mean volatility can't get back in this market. Okay, volatility is up there, and we could see even on Monday one more extension of that volatility, giving us a triple divergence to then break that trend and go get this retest down here. So overall, I'm just looking at how the market reacts to that data on Wednesday and Thursday. If we do come into this area right around Thursday, or even right around the end of Wednesday, then I will be looking for possibly volatility to spike back up, but it's really dependent on that data. What we want to just pay attention to on the VIX is a closing bar above 20. Okay, once you get that closing bar above 20, and then on the daily, we can also look for the 50 actually crossing the 200. So if the 50 actually starts to come up, and then the 200 starts to come down, and we start to hold above that 200, that's mainly when you're going to see volatility that's here to stay. Big reason we saw that bounce in the market is because these yields came off, and it's not necessarily that they came off, it's just they came off pretty quickly after testing that high. So we're going to go down into a 2-hour, and you can see the divergences I have marked here. So I have marked on my charts and on my MACD and RSI these divergences, and it's pretty dang significant. So we could see some kind of reduction in these rates very soon. You see this green bar, so we easily could pop up one more time, then drop. We could easily go higher in these yields, but overall the yields will need some data in order to pop higher in the FOMC and the CPI are going to be the important things for this week. So we want to be starting to pay attention to the data around Wednesday. PLT, there's not a ton to say. I overall believe no matter how this plays out, we are going to see some kind of, left head and right shoulder form. But that hasn't happened yet, and it doesn't have to play out that way. So I don't want you to think that's going to happen. That's just my theory. We could see this flip around and actually go to that price point of about 82.50 and then see some kind of recovery first. But we just want to really be paying attention to the data this week. That's all I can say when it comes to yields. We are getting some bullishness, okay? And this strength is not something to be ignored. We're seeing a lot of things on a lot of charts that say that we want to go higher before the CPI comes out. So that just means that the CPI is going to be very important. But the CPI and the FOMC minutes, those types of things are going to be very important no matter where price is during the week, okay? So be paying attention to that data. I hope you guys have all the luck in the world trading this week. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.